Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cosmic Owl Astrology. I am Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl, and I wanted to do a quick video to talk about the Manosphere documentary and Louis Theroux. I haven't seen it yet, full disclosure, but I am going to savor it tonight. But I know enough about it from reading multiple posts and things on threads about how it outs these male influences, so to speak, in the manosphere. And so I wanted to look at the astrology of it, really. So I'm going to share Louis Theroux's chart first, and then I'm just going to look at a couple of other things, like the transits on the day that the documentary was released. So this is Louis Theroux's chart, and I'm not going to do a full reading, but we have no idea what time he was born, so I've just set first house to 0 Aries. So I'm not even going to speak about the houses. I know with Kathy, when Kathy and I do the political ones, we use the sun on the ascendant, and the solar houses do seem to work, but it's not a practice I really use a lot, so I'm just going to stick to this for now. Okay, so this is Louis' chart. He has a 28-degree Taurus sun. He also has Saturn in Taurus and Mercury in Taurus. And Taurus people are usually very solid and rooted in very core values. And so he's if you've watched any interviews with him or his documentaries and the interviews he's done, he seems to have very strong rooted values. He also was born with Nessus, which is about revealing abuses of power, conjunct the north node of Uranus, which I wasn't going to leave in, but I had it in for something else, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And it's quite interesting by transit as well. Now Gemini is speaking, communication, documentaries, if you like, as well. So this is what he does in this documentary, particularly, is he reveals the abuses of power of the manosphere in many ways, or of men. Let's just put it pretty clearly. He also has Mars and Venus in Gemini. Now, Mars and Venus in Gemini shows up in a lot of abusers' charts, but in this case with Louis, it's in Gemini and part of this stellium with Nessus there, revealing abuses of power and toxins by communication, documentaries, in other words, and interviews, talking to people. And so he has he was also famous for interviewing the famous British paedophile Jimmy Savile a long time ago. In fact, he interviewed Jimmy Savile, I'm not going to bring that chart up, in 2000. Okay, the year 2000. And apparently it's been one of his biggest regrets that he didn't kind of dig deeper and kind of out Jimmy Savile, because he had heard some of the rumours. However, Jimmy Savile was rather a manipulative person, extremely manipulative person, and he was quite protected by people in high places, shall we say. Okay. But one thing that stands out to me is his nodes. He has South Node in Virgo and a North Node in Pisces. And I always think of that nodal axis as learning to do the right, or doing the meaningful and useful work in the world. Okay. And it's also Virgo is all about holistic health and can be in the South Node can be kind of persecution complexes and from the past or abuse from the past. He has quite Pluto in Virgo too. He's of that generation, Hecate. And it's almost like the Burning Witch's South Node, if you like. He could have been persecuted in his past lives. Okay. Now, the North Node in Pisces is drawn to reveal that. And he reveals it on camera, which is very Piscean. There's a lot more to it, of course, and I can't do a full reading just in this short video. So I thought I'd just lay the groundwork. He also has the Sun opposing Neptune. And Neptune is also very related to kind of clouds parting, revealing things, all that kind of energy. And he has, oh, that puts his moon in Scorpio. Okay, so that's, I was going to see if, but anyway, doesn't matter. So he has a nice chart, really. He has a lovely chart. He was born in Singapore and he's got all this Aries stuff. Now, he has Chiron in Aries conjunct Juno, which is our sacred contracts with each other, women and children, okay, as well. He has Eris in Aries, as we all do, and Ceres in Aries, and Ceres is about kind of our needs met and unmet. And so he is in the perfect position right now to reveal all of this. I'll come back to what that one is when I look at the transits. You know, this is a very basic reading, by the way. But, you know, he's just a really solid person, and he's really soul-wise drawn to do the right thing. And if you listen to interviews with him, I was just listening to one about him and his regret with the interview with Jimmy Savile. But he also, you know, he goes back and revisits it, and he does really tune into like the philosophy of it as well, and trying to, and ethically, and trying to do the right thing. So anyway, he's just I think he's a really nice guy. But that's South Node. His regret about Jimmy Savile is the South Node being a bit hypercritical of the self as well. Anyway, so let's get the chart up for the release of the Manosphere documentary. Well, look at this. He's having his nodal return. It's almost exact. The North Node is moving backwards. The nodes have been sat at 8 degrees right through these eclipses. This is his moment. This is his big turning point. And I've never heard one of his documentaries being talked about this much. And, you know, I grew up with them. I've always liked him, but this one is just really hitting the big time. Now, there's other reasons for that as well, but nodal return is massive. We've also got in the, I set the release chart for 12 a.m. at where Netflix is located. So, you know, this is approximate of when it's coming out. But Mars was about to conjunct the North Node as well, which is, you know, can be aggression and assertion and that alpha male kind of energy, all right, which is very Manosphere. Okay. And so also we have Nessus again. Nessus is very active for these times, let's say. So Nessus and the Sun were conjunct on the release of this documentary, shining a big old light on this manosphere and about how toxic it is, and how toxic an influence it is. And this is all in Pisces, and the manosphere is, the influencers are that shiny silver screen kind of influency people whose real lives very often do not reflect their online character, by the way, for a lot of these influencers. So we've got all those layers really just showing up in the chart by transit. Now, this bit, the 20-degree mark of Sun and Nessus, is square to the transiting moon at that point of release, and the moon was in Sagittarius, which is a truth seeker, and square to his Mars, again revealing this toxicity in so many ways. Also, this Mercury, Pallas Athena, wise justice asteroid is square to his Nessus and that north node, north node of Uranus. A north node of Uranus tends to bring an awakening, if you like, in many ways. I think this documentary is just like, whew. Anyway, I can't wait to watch it. Also, though, I wanted to point out, and these are not actually really aspecting his chart, but just collectively, Chiron in Aries. Since Chiron moved into Aries, people have, many astrologers have been talking about healing the divine masculine. And well, my opinion is that we kind of have to see it before it can be healed. So it's not just being the healing, but it is bringing the medicine. This is also Okiroe, who was very much she's a kind of a seer quality, but she was punished for telling the truth. Oh, I'm just trying to get something up that I want to talk about. So she had the gift of prophecy. Okay. And she was Chiron's daughter, and she told her father of his fate, and her punishment was to be turned into a horse, meaning her speech was taken from her. She was silenced for knowing the truth and daring to tell a man about it. So, you know, this is about silenced victims in many ways. Of the Manosphere is coming out. He's showing how this Manosphere is just another form of abuse in many ways. From what I've seen, you know, some of the things these men say about women is just vile and disgusting. But I would also say that it's also revealing their wound of them being very shallow, being all about me, and also about having no self-confidence and self-worth themselves. That's Ceres in Aries, but also Eris is here, conjunct, look at this, all at 24 degrees on that day. And he has that Ceres in Aries himself. Eris is the one that threw the apple into the wedding of the elites and caused them to fight amongst themselves about who was the most beautiful. I've always thought Eris not only fights for the outsider, but she reveals the artifice and the shallowness and the wounds of the hierarchical world that we live in so many ways. Okay, the patriarchy, whatever you want to call it. So it just kind of astounded me, all of this. Of course, we've got Venus there in Aries by transit as well, coming up to that Juno-Chiron conjunction as this is released. And, you know, we're now on the 14th, so we're 3 days in. So it's all, as more and more people watch it, more and more people are seeing all of this. But there's another kind of thing, point to all of this, is that Uranus by transit is about to conjunct his Sun and then will oppose his Neptune. So this documentary and his chart are so lined up and, you know, has for revealing this toxicity, this patriarchal manosphere kind of world, and how abusive and toxic can't speak today, thanks Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Oh, by the way, it was released on a Mercury retrograde, and he has Mercury retrograde natally, and they are at the same degree. And if you've heard my videos before, it's 13 degrees and is the number of the divine feminine and the witch, and, you know, women In other words, he is just this. I've taken up home on Threads to a degree, and Threads is turning into the most magical place for the rise of the matriarchy for me. And people are just talking about this all the time, about how, you know, hundreds of women's of stories about abuse are being revealed through this documentary, as well as the Epstein files, as well as all that. And, you know, if you've been following me, you know, I've been talking about we needed to have it out there before we could actually change it. Well, thank you, Louis Theroux, for being one of those pivot points in this. Now go and watch the documentary on Netflix if you don't have it. I've heard it's amazing, and I just cannot wait to watch it. This chart just shows me as well. Oh, and you know, he has a moon, which is the mother opposing his Saturn. He is part of taking down the patriarchy, I think, a big part of it. There's lots of things going on here. Gorgeous. Love it. I could go on and on, in fact, but I'm not going to. It's just, I just look at it and I go, oh, thank you for being this person in the right place at the right time and following your soul's calling at that North Node and on your nodal return. Amazing. Don't you love astrology? And I also love, of course, that Ceres is right there. So don't forget to check out my Ceres workshop, because all of this kind of stuff is really kind of informing the workshop. You know, I released the book last year on August the 12th, but the kind of the way I work is that Ceres, that book was wanted to be birthed then, but it was start of a journey of deepening the understanding of Ceres. So, you know, so check it out. Oh, I did want to look at one more thing, actually. I wanted to look at his progress chart, because I'm wondering where his progress series is right now. And I haven't looked at this. Oh, his progressed moon has just moved into Sagittarius. There you go. Truth, truth, seeking the truth, telling the truth. And his progress series has moved into Taurus, and Ceres is moving into Taurus to conjunct by transit to conjunct his progressed series. What this documentary really is about is revealing more abuse of women by men, the horrible wound of that patriarchal alpha kind of male energy. Oh, just, and everything's lining up. Yeah. I kind of knew it without looking in, but I decided to look at them anyway. Fantastic. I'm just checking any other things. Oh, there's loads of things I could talk about, but watch the documentary. Not only is he in the right place at the right time, but also the documentary is, and it's another part of taking down the patriarchy and collapsing it. Apparently the funniest thing is them realizing that they are being outed as misogynist, hateful people, and apparently he's one of them wants to sue him already. But the good thing, one thing about his Pisces North Node is he just sits back and listens and lets them out themselves. And that's Eris too. Bye. Oh, check out my series workshop. It's next weekend. Bye.